Not very loud.
Good evening. Can you hear me now?
A little better.
Okay. Guess all the candidates will have to speak up into the microphone. I'm Paula Staub-Polk and your moderator for this evening's candidate forum. The first thing I'd like to do is welcome all the candidates and welcome you. I appreciate having so many candidates to be able to choose from as a voter. Quite an endeavor when you do run. It's quite an endeavor when you do win. So I want to thank you all, and I appreciate it very much. Starting with the library trustee candidates, Chelsea Moore, and if you could just either stand or raise your hand, please. Chelsea Moore, Michael Rubicek. School board candidates, William Brewer, Joe Hardwick, Brandon Maddox, Susan Worley. Village clerk, Amy Dahlkamp. Village trustee candidates, Bonnie Billick, Jewel Brandt, Terry Fountain, Brett Gerger, Ryan Mann, Keith Osborne, Paul Serschel. Village president candidates, Darlene Judd, David Kimsey, Craig Law, Matthew Mouth. Thank you. The ones that will be answering the questions tonight are the ones that are running opposed. So this evening, we ask, it's a little bit different than what we've done before because of the number of candidates we have. So we do have our questions already formulated from being given this evening, as well as to the chamber and to the library. I have chosen questions submitted by them, and I will be trying to get as many questions answered as possible in the amount of time. Responses and rebuttals will be timed by a chamber representative and will be limited to 2 minutes for each candidate. At approximately 7 p.m., we will allow for each candidate running opposed to give their final remarks and why they are running for office. They'll each have 2 minutes to respond. We'll plan on dismissing by 8 p.m. However, due to the large number of candidates invited to this year's forum, it's understandable that we may run longer, and that's just fine. Okay. We'll start with the school board first. The first question that I have for you is from one of our students. And it's a two-part question. What has our school system done well over the last few years, and where was it lacking? What are some ideas for increasing revenues in the schools?
You know, I think one of the things that's done well over the past years is handled the growth. Chatham's a growing community. The high school, I think we're encroaching 4,800 students, bigger than anyone in 186. But with that comes some challenges. We're going to have to start facing some things that weren't an issue in Chatham 10 years ago. Just to deal with the student population and revenue dollars per child, I do not believe is going to grow given the current state of Illinois. So we're going to have to spend that money more wisely per student, and we're going to have to, effectively plan for the future, what it looks like 5 years from now and 10 years from now, so we're not caught behind the ball. Thank you.
Some of the things we've done well, I've graduated from Chatham in '93, so we actually moved away and moved to Florida and wanted to come back to the community because it is a community. And when we were literally living in Springfield deciding, do we go to Rochester or Chatham? And just from the experience I've had here with the teachers and the staff, it really, just even the technology classes that we had at the time, it made me want to come back to Chatham. And we have 4 kids, so at the time I had one son that was interested in broadcasting, and he was able to learn broadcasting through another student that taught broadcasting. So just that passing on that knowledge led him to take the broadcasting classes now. So, and then he's one of the leaders, in the broadcasting now. And up to this fall, they're going to be able to broadcast football games live, some basketball games, volleyball games live. So they're working on that technology to do that. Where we're lacking is I would like to see maybe a separate parent group, maybe even a community group, to work on some ideas. And part of that would be to increase revenue, to look for more grants. I actually worked out at on the playgrounds for a while, and I went from Ball Elementary, and I don't know if you guys, when you drive by, you'll see tons of trees and shade at Ball Elementary. Well, then I transferred over to Glenwood Elementary, and there's literally not one tree on the playground out there. And so little things like community involvement, I've been telling the Boy Scout leaders, if they're doing an Eagle Scout project or something like that, that's something that they could work on to increase the funding without actually spending tax dollars.
Thank you very much. And for your second question, you both talked a little bit about the budget and how that may impact the school district. How do you propose to ensure that students with IEPs are provided the proper support services with aides and paraprofessionals to achieve integration goals into the classroom in the face of budget pressures?
One thing I noticed from going to the board meetings is only so much you can see when you're sitting in the audience, just like you guys have been to board meetings before, and then there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. With any kind of funding, it's just a fine balance between where do you put your priorities, and that to me, from working on the playgrounds, I did see how needed the aides are. I saw a few times when I thought a student probably could use an aide, but we had literally an aide would be out on a swing set trying to watch two students, and I just thought that was kind of unacceptable. That either they end up having an aide or they don't have an aide, but for one person to be trying to watch 2 people, I just didn't. So that's one thing that I would definitely make a priority. But as far as the board goes, I mean, it acts as one full unit, so it's not something that you can just bring up like a difference with the other candidates. You can't just bring this up and say let's vote on it. It needs to be a community effort. We need to talk about it first, and then it needs to be presented to the board.
The one-on-one attention and the aides are definitely necessary, but I've never ran across any problem in which I've thrown money at it and it seems to have gotten better. So for me, it all starts with, are we spending all of our resources as best as we can now? I believe there's probably room for everyone to tighten their belt a little bit, and in combination with that and additional funds, there'll be the necessary resources to take care of the kids and all the one-on-one attention that they need. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have questions for the board and the village presidents, and I think it would be interesting just to hear across the board the answers to these questions. So we're going to start with Mr. Mao here, and then with the second question, we'll start at the other end. But this is a three-part question. So you may write down all parts of this question. The first is, how will you address the negative publicity surrounding the controversies which have affected the image of the community. The second part of the question is, what is the biggest economic development opportunity that may attract businesses to Chatham? And number 3, where do you stand on the current water contract and the effects engage from South County Water District? I know you've only got 2 minutes, but we've got a lot of issues on the table.
Okay, thank you. Paula, you know, being on the board and just saying what is it not on?
Stand up, please. Stand. They can't
no,
see you.
Being on the board now and attending meetings before, you know, there is a lot of negative publicity. There's a lot of, I think, division, as I would call it. And if elected village president, I want to work together and bring those groups together. Because growing up, I saw a united Chatham that worked together to move forward and progressed. Right now, I see issues going on with that, because if I'm a business or if I'm a developer, I see all these black marks on Chatham every time I turn on the news or every time I read a newspaper. You know, it's going to make me wonder, do I really want to move into a community or develop in a community where it seems like there's disunity and people can't get along? And that's one thing I want to work on. You know, one way I've thought about doing that is I want to have a meeting with the mayor or meeting with the village president, whether it's a weekly thing or a monthly thing, where citizens can come to me and we'll have a separate event. It won't be a meeting, it'll be kind of a casual event where people and I can talk and we can get together with different people throughout the community and developers and talk about their issues and see if we can't come together and meet and talk like that. The economic development opportunity, I think, for Chatham is, you know, as we're growing, one of the biggest areas is Route 4 and Mansion Road. There's a huge area right there. And the question is, what do we want to see there? Some have said, well, I want to see a big box store there. I want to see little businesses there, or storage units, or whatever there. But, you know, one thing we have to make sure of with the economic development, wherever it is make sure our infrastructure in that area can handle whatever businesses or developments going in there. Because if it can't handle it now, it won't handle it when it's there. Lastly, the water contract. You know, I have said we need to work together. We need to make it work. The millions of dollars that it would cost to get out of it, whether it's the bondholder lawsuits or the lawsuits from the SSWC or from New Berlin or Loami, we can make it work, in my opinion. I've talked to different water experts, and they do believe it can work. The different filtration systems and things can be put in, which should have been done in the beginning, but they can be put in now. And moving forward, I think Chatham can grow and can be prosperous, and we just need to work together and do that.
Craig Law. There's a lot of things that are going on in negativity that you see on Facebook or any other kind of social media within the school, and not only just the school district, within the village itself. What I told a parent that from Springfield, I work in the schools there, and I also come down and help out with Chatham quite a bit. What I tell them, the parents there that I dealt with, is the reason why you find out about it a lot of times in the village of Chatham is because our parents care. And we don't have that as much in this District 186. There's great students there, don't get me wrong, but our parents actually care more. So they're going to throw stuff out there for people to know what's going on. And a lot of that is seen as negative, but you'd be surprised at how much positive feedback you get from that. There's a lot of stuff that goes on within the village that's negative, but somebody sees it as a positive. You can't always look at one person's negative and not the other person looking at it as a positive. So that is one thing that you might get an opinion about something being negative. It's not negative to everybody. As far as the economic growth, we are in a situation right now with our infrastructure where we can grow, but we have to make sure that we look at each individual housing development or each individual box store that wants to come down here, or any business that wants to come down here. Can we handle or sustain the water, the sewer, the electric, can our manpower handle it? We have a limited number of workers. Right now, we can't afford to hire more. We with everything going on, so we need to look at all that. I'm all for growth, and as far as the water contract, we are stuck in a water contract for 35 years. Is there ways out of it? I'm sure there is. Do we all want to just jump out and forfeit bonds? No. There's other options out there we could look at. The water is a huge issue here in Chatham. We could sell that plant to a willing buyer. We could, sell back certain parts, have an outside agency come in and do an audit and figure out where our money went that we spent on this water, to figure out where it's at and how come it wasn't built to the standards that were promised to us. So I'm all for looking at every adventure out there and trying to solve the problems.
All right, I'm Dave Kinsey. First off, addressing negative publicity surrounding the community. I think it's important as a community, what we recognize is there are a lot of great things that happen in Chatham. The identity of our community is rooted obviously in what great schools we have here. That's our prime attractor of families and new residents to the area. But we have a thriving small business community. We have a very strong park system. What we lack is a fully integrated PR system to the village. We don't have it. We're not good at bragging on what we're good about. We don't put out enough information on what's happening in our community, ways to celebrate our community, all the positive things that happen in our community. That's what connects everybody back to your community. That's what drives new development. Those are the things that spur the volunteerism and really engage citizenry into giving back to their community. We need better concerted effort on striking that balance on how do you get the positive out there about your community. That leads into the economic development that drives into your community. We've been fortunate to attract probably 13,000 residents into our village now, and we'll approach 15,000 here shortly. That's driven again by the schools, and we have to realize that they're going to continue to come because of how good our schools are. And we have a school district that is significantly larger than the village of Chatham. They encompass areas that are in Springfield and Glenarm and in unincorporated areas of the county. But when we recognize the fact that people are going to come to Chatham, come to the area for the school district, we do better as a village to fully incorporate them into our village limits, because then not only do they support the school district through their real estate taxes, they support the library through their real estate taxes, they support the fire district through their real estate taxes. They're supporting the infrastructure that the town is built on and maintained on by supporting the village. The prime areas for that development, Matt alluded to north of Mansion Road. The other one will come into play, I think, shortly in the future is east of I-55 towards Ball Elementary School. As far as the water contract and the effect to break with South Sangamon Water Commission, we had an extensive legal review done by an independent third party that looked through the establishment of South Sangamon Water Commission. They looked at the contracts, they looked at the bonding, they looked at the resolutions on all the ordinances that were passed around it. Their opinion was it would be financially catastrophic to even try. I'm an accountant, I know what financially catastrophic looks like, and they think at the end of the day, you'll be in the same spot. So I think we focus our efforts on doing the things that affect quality, affect consistency, and affect efficiency of the plant.
Hello, my name is Darlene Judd. I would just like to thank all the different people that I have talked to. My name is Darlene Judd, and I would just like to thank each and every one that did come this evening. In my walking, passing out door knockers and that, I met a lot of great people. So I have a hard time really recognizing that we have so much negativity in our village, because everyone was so nice and so accepting that sometimes I think we let social media take over what we're thinking about and how we should think. Sometimes we say, well, this person's right, and then somebody steps in and says, no, this person's right. Well, we're all right, we just all look at things differently. And like I said again, I really enjoyed meeting different people and that. As far as businesses and attracting them to our village, I have talked to a few different people that are looking at possibly bringing in a boutique or something of the sort that way to the village of Chatham. They're very interested. So our community does attract what we need when it comes to businesses and that. And then as far as the water contract, I just feel that sometimes that we were promised something different than what we received, and it didn't happen, and so now we have to try our best to get the best that we can from our water. I would say I will work diligently to try to go back to City Water, Light and Power, because I don't feel that how much money we put in this plant that we will ever have non-corrosive water and good water. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Paul Herschel, and I appreciate this comprehensive question. I'm sure we'll be able to expand on it as we go on. The first part, negative publicity. As my campaign, I've really focused on restoring civility and professionalism to the board. And I think as I walk door to door, when I talk to people, what they want to hear is that the board is interested in finding solutions to the problems. And that the people up there both have the ability and the interest to find that for them. In order to do that, we have to be able to respect one another, but not always necessarily agree. So we have to start with that people feel free to be able to offer up their concerns when they have an issue. Because I think that's something, as I've talked to people door to door, and I've appreciated that opportunity, because people, when you're talking one-on-one, are free to do that, but they don't feel like they can do it on social media or other platforms or at a village meeting. So I think that's one part you have to start with. This is a great community. My wife's a teacher. We have a great school district. A lot of people move here for that reason. We had 11% growth last year. It continues, and I think there's a lot to talk about with why this is still a great community, and this goes into the biggest economic development opportunity. I think we're at a point, I don't think one of us should decide necessarily what that opportunity is. I think it's time. The last comprehensive plan that the village had was 2007. And the last time, and that was a revision from 1994. I think it's time that we, as a community, gather together for a new plan, for a new board, to look at where do we want to grow? How are we serving our constituents in the town right now? And what do we need to do to meet those needs going forward? I think we're at a critical point now to do that. As much as we're growing at 13,000, we're going, so I got 10 seconds left. So I think we're at a critical point to do that. And I think and hear back and allow the citizens the opportunity to say what they want. On the water issue, what I've said is all options are on the table to fix the water issues. But we have to be clear that we will not default on the bonds. That would set us up for financial catastrophe as a long-range view into the future. Our credit rating would go down, and it would subject us to millions of dollars in damages. But what we need to operate on are what are the facts, where do the facts lead us? And working with the new engineering firm, Crawford, Murphy & Tilley, with that water specialist, he is a former superintendent for COOP. He says we have a better water source than Lake Springfield. So I think if we can work with engineers to fix what's there, to get it to the right levels of what we would expect it to be, I think we'll be in a good spot in the long-term plan. But we have to move forward and listen to those solutions.
Brian Mann. So on the first question, how do we combat the negative publicity on the town? I think that that's fairly simple. We need to champion the good things that are already here. Just yesterday, last night at the village board meeting, we had a citizen come forward with a program to put the faces of all of the kids that enlist into the military. We're going to put them all down Route 4. That's the kind of thing that we champion as a board, and we make sure that the citizens know why we're doing this. Those things are so important. Those things are critical. We can do that, and it's simple, an easy way to combat negative publicity. The biggest development opportunities, if we champion the village and we we publicize how good our school district is, development opportunities will come to us across the board, no matter who you are, no matter what race you are, no matter what color you are, no matter what sexual orientation you are. Everybody wants a great education, and this school district can provide it. And if we champion that across the board, it's going to be simple. Business development will want to come here because people want to live here. And then on the CWLP, going back or staying, it's not that easy. It's a complicated problem. A lot more information has to be discovered. And all options are still on the table as far as I'm concerned, but it's all about educating us on the board to make the proper decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Brett Gerger. As far as the negative publicity, I think it'll start when this new board is in place by answering questions of the citizens. If you show up and ask a question, hopefully you've asked that question before in an email or a phone call, and you get answers. I'm always going to give you an answer. You may not like the answer. I may not like the answer, but you're going to get an answer. I think that's led to a lot of the frustration. And then, as other candidates have pointed out, we need to really promote and shine a light on the things that Chatham does well. The reason my wife and I chose here instead of a Rochester or Pleasant Plains is because, and no knock to those cities, is because we now have a prompt care, urgent care. We have a Verizon store. We have just about anything you could want in a small village. As far as economic opportunity, we're attractive because we're far enough away from Springfield that a big box store or something like that could see us as an attractive commodity to themselves. With the school district, that's the other thing with the economic opportunity. We've got to be very careful, and we've got to be, as a board, we need to work more in unison with the school district so that that school district knows, hey, we're putting in 300 apartments. Hey, we're putting in 100 lot plat. How are you going to plan for it? We need to work together so we all have a plan going forward, like Mr. Scherschel indicated. We need a comprehensive plan of how we're going to go forward for the next 10 years. The problem is this growth has hit this community so quickly that we didn't plan for it correctly, and we didn't ask the right questions. We didn't procure things right. We need to start by doing that. Okay, so 10 seconds. Water. So I'm running because I have a little bit of expertise in fraud and financial crimes and insurance. So I would like to get in there and look and see if there was anybody negligent, if there's anybody we can pursue for the liability to make the plan right. Going back to CWLP is a very tricky thing. I really can. It's not off the table, but you cannot default on bonds. We wouldn't be defaulting on bonds, but we can't cause the default of a bond. That would be so negatively impact Chatham. And with our infrastructure needs coming up, we may need bonds, and we can't risk that. So I would pursue that start.
Jewel Brandt, and Brett took all my answers, so. No, as far as addressing the negative image of our community, it makes me sad that it is a negative thing. I think the only way to address it is just for the new people who get elected to act professionally and respectfully at all times. I think that'll go a long way. The economic development opportunity to attract businesses. Well, as Paul talked about, our plan, our comprehensive plan, hasn't been updated in a while. Did we even look at the plan and follow it? Nope, we sure didn't. We didn't plan accordingly, and Brett even said too, we did not anticipate the growth as great as it was. And we didn't keep up on our infrastructure. So we have growing pains, we have aging pains, which means the older parts of town aren't getting the attention they need. The growing pains, we need to make sure that we have a good plan in place before we continue to grow. I would like to lessen the development until our infrastructure, our water, sewer, and roads can catch up. And as far as the contract with South Sangamon, I'm looking forward to digging in and figuring out a way out of it, or figuring out a way that we can at least move forward with something better than what we have now. Thank you.
Bonnie Billick. Do you know how hard it is to be at the end of all this? I mean, I'm going to have to. Oh, that's right. I'm not quite as good. But you're prepared, right? Okay. That's part of the 2 minutes. I got that before. The negativity. Unfortunately, the human mind looks at a sentence, and the first thing that it gets is the negative. There is nothing bad about this village. Yes, we have issues that have popped up and grabbed us all, and unfortunately that's what we look at. But I don't think it's a situation that's a long-term thing. I think getting a lot of new faces up there, getting candidates that are listening, a mayor, trustees that are listening, and willing to change some things up there is going to make a big difference. We still have everybody talk about the school district. You know, I'm blessed that my kids graduated and decided to move back to this village and raise my grandkids. So we have a lot of positives here, and I don't think the negativity is going to totally affect this. I think we are going to bounce back as a community. All of us bounce back. As far as the development, we need to slow down. We need to see where we're at with this. I mean, I am far from saying that we shouldn't grow. I'd like to see a lot more businesses. I mean, the Fashion Connection, whoever thought that, you know, the village would have a clothing store here. I mean, that's a start in itself. I'd love to see County Market get a lot bigger so I can quit going into down to Walmart occasionally, you know? Don't get me wrong, I shop at County Market, love their coupons. But we need other businesses as well. The businesses are going to bring in revenue as far as taxes and things like that. I mean, my car needs an auto parts place where I can go and get a few things myself. Okay, she's waving her sign. As far as the water connection and this water deal, biggest thing is we need a bunch of new set of eyes. This election's going to do it. Give this village a new set of eyes across this board so that we can get in there and we can see where the problems were. I have corrosive water. I mean, if my neighbor doesn't get you up, I'll shampoo my hair there. But there is an issue there, but not just the corrosive water, but it's also the rates. The rates are going to kill us. And it's not just 20% this year, it's going to continue. I've been to the water meetings. Darlene has taped the water meetings. If you haven't seen them, watch them. It's not a simple fix, but get new eyes so we can start digging in those books and see what happened on building this water tank that we gave away.
Keith Osborne, I am the write-in candidate for the 2-year trustee position. Public image, yes. I think our previous board has given the community a very negative image, okay? People are afraid to go down and talk to the board. People are afraid to bring up issues, and they've been silent because they've been suppressed. I propose, if I'm elected, to be very transparent. You may not get along with agree with what I vote for, but you'll know exactly what I voted for and how I voted. Okay, economic developments. I sort of snickered at this one. The first thing that came to my mind was hollyhocks. Hollyhocks? What's a hollyhock? Well, a hollyhock is a flower that used to plant around outhouses, okay? And it's my job to plant them around outhouses. Back when I was younger, okay? Now, we need to grow, okay? There's no ifs, ands, or buts. We need to grow, and it needs to be controlled and not the explosion that we've had. Some of the things I see trying to come in here, we're not ready for them yet. And they're going to be an eyesore. And so I thought about hollyhocks, okay? Shouldn't say that, that's what we did. I want to thank, I see a couple of gentlemen over there that I've talked to at my walk-ins. Fellow right over there, thank you for coming. Thank you for coming, both of you guys. Okay? I see another people I talked to walking the neighborhoods. The water issue. I've told everybody this. My plan is really find some way to go back to the same quality of water we had before South Sangamon Water Commission came into effect. Okay. Number one, we can go back to city water line power at a cost,
and absorb the debt. We're not going to lose the debt. We can't do that. That would kill us economically. Number two, we can go to South Sangamon Water Commission and improve their plant, green sand filtration, larger retention tanks, new membranes, and I'll have CMT do a cost benefit analysis, whatever is most beneficial to the village after 5, 10, 15 years, that's what I'm going to support. Then I'm going to do something visual for you. This is the water coming into my house that comes out of my filters every day. We're not going to have this in Chatham anymore.
Hello, I'm Terry Fountain. I was appointed to the board this past May, so I've been there for just under a year. As far as the negativity, yes, there is definitely that perception. First of all, I think everyone in this room believes that Chatham is a great place to live, raise a family, even have people visiting, and to start a business or grow your business. And I think it's just going to be a matter of having those discussions, and there are still going to be issues. There are going to still be those negativities, and we address them as we can. I know with my walking around talking to various people, there are some people who are having no problems whatsoever. There are some who are definitely having issues, and there are some who have some minor issues with nothing that great. Some people are silent, some people are definitely vocal, and I think it's going to be a matter of taking a balanced approach so that we try to address everyone's needs as best we can. As far as economic growth, I am definitely for it. However, I do know with the infrastructure, mainly the roadways, that is an issue. Coming from over 30 years in the transportation side, working with local agencies on their highway needs and funding issues, we're at the point that we need to take a look at our roadway system and start taking a look, see what the right treatment is for the right road at the right time. I believe with our current engineers, they are holding the contractor and the developer's feet to the specs. So I do believe future issues with those roads will be further down. As far as the water issue, we did have an independent law firm come in. They looked at everything, and basically they said, if you're ready to spend millions and millions of dollars and possibly still be at the same place as you are now, you can go for it as far as doing the contract. But one of the things that I got from it, that the attorney said, what you have here is an engineering problem and it's going to require engineering solutions. And I think with the CNT working with the South Florida South Sangamon Water Commission engineers, I think we are going to find those solutions to get the best water possible and hopefully keep those costs down.
Thank you. All the candidates have done a very good job of getting out in the community, knocking on doors, and talking to people. You see a lot of their printed materials over here on the table for you to pick up, and there have been many interviews through the newspapers, different websites, and things like that. A lot of the campaigns have made involving, listening, including, and being open and change as their platform. So once you are elected, you're faced with important decisions. How will you gather needed information? Who or where will you seek advice and guidance? And how are you proposing that the village and you stay connected to other government entities in Chatham? And probably most important, how are you going to stay connected with your constituents in the village?
Quite a few questions there.
I know.
First of all, as far as listening to what people do have to say, I know shortly after I got on the board, one of the things I heard during public comments was a lot of, well, so-and-so's brother was hired because of this, or so-and-so uncle got off because of this, so forth. And I took a look at the village's code on anti-nepotism, and it was maybe 4 or 5 lines long. It was not very big. Working first with the attorney, he came up with some language that had been used elsewhere. Talking with it over 2 or 3 meetings with the other village trustees, we did basically expand the anti-nepotism so that it is definitely a lot stronger than what we did have. I also know that I did talk to one individual this past summer, shortly after I started, about a path that she just cannot get to from her house to a health facility here in Chatham. There was a missing sidewalk there. Lo and behold, about a month later after we talked, it appeared. Unfortunately, I can't take full credit there, but there was also some other issues that we're working on. I did basically go forward, and we did get passed to do a Americans with Disabilities Act transition plan and self-evaluation committee, which I do chair on. And we definitely want you guys to give us your input. So I think it's just going to be a matter of listening to people who are coming, still getting out there and talking to the individuals as far as what the issues are, and to basically see where we can address those so that it's a balanced approach so that it serves everyone as much as we can in the village.
Okay, communication, I think that's very key. My better half insisted I have a Facebook account for this campaign, and there's one there, and I am watching it somewhat with her guidance. I'm not a Facebook person. We are doing the Facebook that I like to do. When I talk to you and whoever else out there, this is my Facebook. All right, brochure over there, there's an email account, the phone number. Guess what? Use it. For 30 years, I was the director of operation, chief engineer, at SIU School of Medicine. Currently 1,600 employees, 23 buildings. You don't think I have a product in place daily? I have to make contact with doctors, nurses, office people, secretaries, engineers, architects, building operating engineers, building service workers, gardeners, because every day I have to deal with every one of those problems. I don't intend to do anything different with this. This is my community. Okay, this is my home. You all have problems. This is my Facebook with you. I've been walking around too, seeing a lot of people. Some people are angry. Some people don't feel like they can come down to the board and talk. They don't feel like they're being heard. I'm very transparent. You'll know exactly what I'm doing, why I'm doing it. And I think that's one thing this board needs to have, more transparency, because it's not been there. ADA, I've been taught ADA, I've developed several applications for ADA. Your buildings have to be monitored for that. We have a lot of people who need those accommodations.
Well, we do have a communication problem. That's the biggest thing within this village right now. I've had people tell me that they've sent emails, they've contacted trustees, usually the mayor's not answering, things like this. I think you're going to see a lot of change, no matter who you vote for. Everybody running in this election, whether it's for a president/mayor or a trustee's position, I think they all know now that there is a big communication problem. Me, I like to talk. My motto is the voice for the citizens, but it's also the ears for the citizens to be the voice for the citizens. So I don't think you're going to find one candidate up here, no matter what, that will not have an open door for you. The biggest problem that we will all have is giving you the answers that you want. It's going to be a long haul to try to solve some of the issues in the past. It's not an overnight fix, unfortunately, because I think that every single one of us would be snapping our fingers and it's all fixed and we're all happy again. But if you don't, as citizens, if you do not voice your opinions to the board, you will not get answers. You will not have a voice. So it's up to you guys to get involved. It's up to the village citizens, every last one of you, to get involved. I've got a grandson turning 18. I'll say, get involved. Don't tell me you're registered to vote. Get involved. You know, everybody here right now that has been to the meetings, every single one of us that has FOIA'd for information, oh, nightmare. But you do get information, but not everything that you need. So understand, a lot of us have been working behind the scenes that maybe you're not aware of with the FOIAs, but the door is still closed. So you guys need to be the village. We're your representatives.
Gathering info and who will you consult? There's a lot of smart people in Chatham, and I believe that, you know, everybody has a good idea at one point or another, and I intend to use everybody's ideas. And I would encourage people to contact me. I put my phone number on my information as well. If I am elected, my information will be on the Chatham, Village of Chatham page. And I would encourage you to use my phone number and just call me directly, because I think that's the best way to solve a communication problem, is just to call and sit down and have a discussion. Thank you.
Thank you again. For guidance, I would lean on my professional career. So just a little bit is I've investigated fraud for 16 years. Then I was over benefits, in which I participated in procuring approximately $3 billion worth of services. Then I ran the work comp program for the state of Illinois, which was a $140 million budget, but they gave me about $120 million. So I had to squeeze every dollar I could and find where the dollars needed to go appropriately. The only way you do that kind of stuff is by asking the appropriate questions. If I didn't ask the appropriate questions, I wouldn't have got promoted as I've been promoted, or be where I am today. I'm currently the Deputy Director of Property and Casualty Insurance at the Department of Insurance. I regulate everything from auto, home, work comp. I'm involved heavily in workers' compensation. So I think that I could ask the right questions going forward, and I think I could find solutions. If I couldn't, the other reason I'm where I'm at today is I find people that do have answers. And that's what we need to do before making rash decisions, before we procure something. If somebody's going to build something for the village, they need to have a performance bond in place. They need to have proper insurance in place. And they need to meet minimum qualifications to be able to bid the contract, regardless of price. If it's a cost like the water plant, that is not appropriate for something like a cop car or things of that nature. If something's going to tie it to taxes, we need to probably look at referendums. Do we need a referendum for everything? No, I don't want to vote on whether we purchase a cop car. As far as other government entities, as a trustee, I would reach out to all the other small communities. I would hope our village presidents would do the same, and you can get information that way. Our lawyer, from being to the meetings, I know he represents other townships as well, or other villages. I would also lean on him for guidance. Availability, I'm always available. Email, phone, on my walk cards I put my email and phone. Most people just put their email, I put both. I will, like I said, I will get you an answer. It may not always be the one you like, and may not be the one I like, but you'll get an answer. Thank you.
Yeah, so one of the things that I've laid out, I've got a website out there, it's on my card. One of the things that I laid out is a program, at least a thought of a program, to assign the trustees, 2 trustees to every governmental agency for communication purposes only, meaning the school board, the townships. 2 of us would be assigned just strictly as communication, whether that is going to the meetings and just making sure that the lines of communication are open. Another thing that I would like to do is currently throughout my campaign I've been doing Facebook Lives once a week. I'd like to roll that, continue that in, if I'm elected, to a monthly Facebook Live with myself and another trustee, myself and the village president, to keep that information flowing between the board and the citizens. So you don't have to be at the meeting, but you'll have what's going on. And then where would I get my information from, or where would I to build on? One of the things that I've learned in my career, and I'm the lead telecommunications engineer for Memorial Health Systems, you're never the first one to do something. Somebody else has already done it. Find out who did, reach out to them, and talk to them about it. It's saved my rear end many times. Just doing a little bit of research and finding out who else has had this same problem, and you go from there. And then you find your experts, and you go from there. So that's how I build on my information. Thank you.
Thanks for the question. So I gather this question is about how I would gather information to make a decision. And I think my process, I come from the not-for-profit sector. I helped establish the Coronary Heart Foundation, which raises funds for cardiovascular research and technology. Before that, I was at Millikan University, where I raised scholarships and federal grants and state grants at Millikan University, and worked with family foundations. And in the not-for-profit sector, it's really about problem solving. It's about serving the common good. It's about building partnerships and collaborations. So I continue to do that and operate that way on the board as work. So it would really depend, the vote would depend on what the problem is. So as Ryan was just talking about, whatever this problem is, you'd reach out to the people who would be affected by it. If it's a neighborhood issue, you would reach out to neighbors in that area. And I think, going back to the plan, I think really what would help all the board members is having an advisory document like a comprehensive plan. So as the new board would come in place, the process of developing a new comprehensive plan would really allow the board members to refer to that document in making votes. So that, because really through that process, you'd be able to survey the residents in the community, what they want, and where our needs are for the services and for our growth going forward, so that really it gives everyone an opportunity, because through that process we can involve leaders at the schools. We can involve neighborhood HOAs and their leaders. We can involve different constituents. I think in the last process they had, you could go to a school and they broke up into groups based on different topics. I think that really could be a good opportunity for us right now to, as fast as we've grown, to kind of have a checkpoint. We're at a critical point to do that. So I think, and then also I really hope people would reach out to me. I can go out and ask as many people as I can, but if there's an issue that's important to you, to reach out to me. Call, email, and let me know how you're going to vote, because I don't have a certain political agenda on it. It's to represent the interests of the citizens in the community. So reach out to me before a vote to let me know what you would want, and that's what I hope you would do.
Well, I think the communication between the residents and the board and the village presidents is very important. And I do believe that each and every one of you make a huge difference in how we do what we need to do. We have to depend on the board. It's not my decision, it's the board's decision. It's everyone's research that makes the projects happen, that you need to have happen, that we all need to have happen. I am retired. I have all the time in the world to spend to allow anyone to have any problems and bring them to me. I would definitely open up to the openness at the board meetings. If a resident asks a question, they deserve an answer, and they deserve an answer within a certain period of time. Not just, okay, let's look. This is what we got for 2 years when we went to meetings, was we asked our questions, but we never got our answers. Not totally. Maybe once in a while we did, but not totally. When you did FOIAs, you never got your answers. Totally. We were denied many times, and not with a real reason, just denied. And I just feel that we need to be more open as a village board.
Well, I'm still Dave Kimsey. To get this in 2 minutes, I'll combine some of these stuff. So, how do you gather needed information and listen, and where do you go to for advice? One thing that I found, and it's an old habit of mine, is lots of reading. There is a tremendous amount of resources that are available to support municipal government agencies, whether it's through the IML, whether it's through the experience of other similar villages in the county, in the state, in other states. A lot of these things have been done before. So there's a tremendous amount of resources that are available to you, and usually you don't have to recreate the wheel to get to a lot of things. Learn from what other people have done, and then look to the expert. Whether that expert is a community volunteer who has stepped forward because this is something that they're passionate about and this is a strength that where they lie. You find volunteers volunteering toward their strength, and when they step up and say, I want to be involved in this, you engage them in how to do that. The village uses multiple boards and commissions that are all volunteer-based, and those are the individuals that have stepped forward and said, I have experience in this is something I enjoy, this is something I'm willing to dedicate my time to. Listen to those that have the experience, listen to those that have the professional backing and have done those things before. They'll strike to the passion, and they will lead you in the best direction. Staying connected with other agencies and staying connected in the community, both to me root back to the same things. Staying connected with people is all about being actively engaged in your community and being an active participant in everything that you're doing. When you talk to residents throughout the community, the place you find them the most at ease to tell you what is on their mind or to tell you what you're thinking is a lot of times when you're out at the festival, or you're out working on a volunteer project together, or you're away from what I will call the business of the government. When you're being friends and neighbors, when you're just being a Chatham resident, that's when you find people at their best, that's when they're at their most open, and being that active and engaged participant in the community allows that opportunity, allows you the most opportunity to proceed with that.
My first look, personal, 691-2377. 691-2377 if you guys want to call me. Openness in the board is very important for all of us up here. We've all been to a lot of meetings and asked a lot of questions. We get a still face quite a bit. It's time that we bring the answers back to the people that ask us. Her problem might be really small and his might be really big, but to hers and his, it could be small and big. You got to look at everybody's equally across the board and give them an answer. They might not like the answer at the end, but you're giving them an answer. Okay? We're all in this together. The way that we want to run it, the several of us up here, we're all on the same page. We want to bring back the community to what it was like when I grew up here. We were a very, very tight-knit community, and being active in the being active in the community is one thing. Like I said, I'm out there quite a bit between youth sports, activities, bringing my kids to the library. We run into a lot of kids. We run into a lot of parents. I'm active in the school. I coach the bass team at the school. My kids are involved in several sports. I'm active there. I help out with other things. So getting out there in the community gives the people the opportunity, gives the opportunity to speak with me and gives the opportunity to ask a question that I might not have the answer to. But I can call somebody that might have the answer or know somebody that has the answer to them. That's one way of gathering information. Looking at other governments and their mistakes and our mistakes that we've made in the past 20 years. We need to ask for help. Let's go get it. If we don't have the answer, let's find somebody that's made that mistake and get it from them. That's all we can do, is try to move forward and not look back at all the mistakes we